G'day everyone and welcome to Brushes with Beck. Welcome to another art video. This week's video is really nothing very special, I'm afraid. I've been absolutely flat out lately, so I honestly haven't had any time for drawing. So I just thought I'd do a little bit of an artist catch up and what's going on while I render a little bit of fur in this circle here that you see. So I'm just using, this is the Strathmore toned grey, I think it's mixed media paper, or it's the sketch pad. I don't remember now, hang on. It's just the Strathmore toned grey sketch paper. So it's quite smooth. And I'm really just using my Faber-Castell Polychromos on this. I don't really have much of a plan. I'm not using a reference photo. I just thought I would render a little bit of fur while I have this little catch up with you guys. And I may have drawn my circle a little bit big and been a little bit ambitious, but I might just see how we go. Maybe I'll start with half of it and we can work from there. So I haven't really properly selected colours either. So this is kind of a don't do what I'm doing video, and then yeah, just make sure you properly select your colors when you're working on a piece. Don't just grab whatever happens to be in front of you, which is what I did today. I was like, oh, there's some browns, that'll do. Don't do that. Anyway, so the reason I haven't had any time to work on art pieces or anything lately, and the reason I actually forgot about making a video for this week, it was sort of, I was sitting on the couch watching some Netflix and all of a sudden I realised, oh, it's 7:30 on a Friday night and I'm supposed to have a video out first thing Saturday morning. So that was a bit of a panic moment for me, the fact that I didn't even realise that we'd gotten to Friday and hadn't even thought about a video all week. So, we recently found out that we have to move house at short notice, which is very stressful. Lease isn't being renewed for our rental house, so that's been a lot of work. I've been trying to pack things up and clean up every day after work, in addition to searching for rentals and going to inspections of rentals and applying for rentals. And that was very stressful and going along, and at the same time we had a local outbreak of COVID-19, which may not seem like a big deal to a lot of you guys, since I know COVID has been running pretty rampant in many places around the world, but in Australia we've tended to have a pretty good, been very fortunate in that we've had it under pretty good control for the most part, but we recently had the Delta variant sort of get a little bit out of control local to us. So because of a state lockdown due to that outbreak, we now can't look for a place to live because there's no open inspections, and it's just everything's come to a great big grinding halt. And in a way it's kind of funny because it's so much stress, but it got to a point where there were so many things that it's become funny rather than stressful and overwhelming. So at the moment I'm just kind of going with the flow and taking every day as it comes, which is better than stressing over everything, because I really wasn't getting very much sleep the first 2 weeks after we found out about having to move. So feeling a bit more relaxed is a good thing, even if the situation isn't any more relaxed. But at least with a lockdown and, that sort of situation, we should have a bit of leeway on when we have to move out by, which will be nice. We just have to find a rental. The trouble we're having is we actually have 5 pets, so finding a rental that, first of all, allows pets. And then second of all, it's not just we have cats and dogs, it's we have rabbits and we also have a parrot. and the cats, and they all live indoors, so not everybody wants rabbits indoors. Heck, not everybody even wants cats. I spoke to one lady today and they wouldn't take cats because the previous tenant said they had one cat and they had 3 and they destroyed everything. So they're judging everybody else's cats over one bad experience with a tenant. So, I mean, I get they don't want their property ruined, but it's still a little bit frustrating to have that sort of thing happen, to be judged without even seeing our rental history or our application sort of thing. So, but that's just the way it is. We've been to a few opens, a couple of them we really liked and we applied for, and unfortunately we didn't get. The market is very competitive right now. One of them we went to and we walked out thinking, knowing I should apply for it, but really not wanting to because it was just gross. It was really yuck. So we didn't go for that one. So I've just been layering some undercolors here. I've been using cinnamon, and I used a little bit of raw umber, and also, did I use this one? Caput Mortem. So like I said, I'm not really super focused here. I've just grabbed burnt sienna and I'm just going to start adding in some texture because I've got a nice fairly solid underlay there, so it's a good time to sort of add in some texture. So yeah, like I said, there's been a lot going on, and I completely forgot about making a video for this week. And I really don't want to skip a week. It just doesn't feel right to skip a week, and it's apparently also really bad with the algorithm for YouTube. So I really didn't want to have that happen. So that's why I'm doing this little video chatting to you guys and just rendering a little bit of fur here. Like I said earlier, I'm not using a reference, so if this doesn't look super great, it's because I'm not referring to anything. So, but I think it's also important, while it is important to use references to get things looking realistic, I think it's also important to try doing it without those references. And that's another way of getting better. I think my fur strokes are a little bit too even here. Everything's kind of going the same way. So the other thing is I've actually packed up some of my art supplies. I packed all of my pastel mat already, because I was thinking when we first started looking that we would be moving within 3 weeks basically. And now it's been just over 2.5 weeks and we haven't even found a place yet. So I've packed up a lot of stuff. I've obviously still kept out my pencils and I've kept out some different pads of paper, but I packed up my pastel mat because I wanted to make sure I did that properly, because I thought it would be at more risk of getting damaged and my completed works getting damaged and that sort of thing. So that's already put away, unfortunately. And I also figured I wouldn't have time to work on what I'm currently working on there, because I've still got an otter drawing that I'm working on that I think I've mentioned a couple of times recently. The progress on that is very slow, I will admit, and I just knew I wouldn't have time to work on it, so I thought it best if I just packed it up and then I wouldn't have to worry about it later on. I didn't want to pack it in a rush and have it all get damaged, so here we are. So I'm going to try very hard to have an actual drawing for you guys next week. I need to figure out what that is and maybe try and get some work done on that this weekend, but I'm not promising anything. It's been challenging times, and I know it's been that way for a lot of people all over the world. So we've been very fortunate where I live to have the situation as good as it has been. It's just all this stress has sort of come at once combined, so it's interesting. Moving house is stressful at the best of times, but when it's not on your terms and at short notice, it's and you have lots of pets, it's even more stressful. Just have to find somebody that loves rabbits and loves cats, and there's one place that I'm really interested in, but obviously they won't do an inspection until lockdown's over, so we just have to wait and see how we go with that one. So that was burnt sienna. I'm going to add in some, I'm just going to go in with some sky blue. Not very lightly, and I'm just going to do some really light strokes, really sort of feathery strokes in some of these lighter areas, because that can help make it look like in a brighter area that is sort of light reflecting off the sky or something onto the fur, because you get that blue reflection from the color of the sky. Or from different lighting. I'm not going to go overboard with it, hopefully. I say that as it gets quite blue. You know, just a little bit of a colour tone difference to add a little bit of interest and make it look more realistic, because you don't just want just browns, or it looks a bit plain when it's just the browns. So yeah, that's basically everything that's happening in my life at the moment. Fortunately, all the pets are well. Except my parrot's a bit grumpy. We bought her a new cage. When was that? November last year. This really big, like, double wide macaw cage to upgrade her from our older cage, which is quite a lot smaller, less than half the size, and which is great, but it doesn't actually fit through any doorways. So when I learned about having to move, I thought it would be a great idea, and it is a great idea. I transferred her back to her smaller cage earlier than I needed to, so that I would have plenty of time to disassemble her new cage. Because it's a big job. It took me half a day to disassemble it, and then it took me another half a day to sort of properly scrub every nook and cranny in it, because even though I clean it regularly, you just get mucky bits and little crevices and corners that you can't really get to with a regular clean when it's all assembled. So I did all of that, and she's still living in her smaller cage, and that's been a week and a half now, and I think she's starting to get a bit grumpy about it because she's used to having so much space when she's in her cage, and she just doesn't have it. So that's been a bit trying on her, and because she's a smart parrot and she was in the same room, she actually watched me disassemble her big cage. So she's probably wondering what the heck is going on with that, like, why did I take it away and pull it apart in front of her? So I'm not sure how much she understood that, but I feel like she was there watching me, she would get it. Oh, I have a cat visitor. Hello. So she's been a bit grumpy because she's stuck in her smaller cage that she's not used to anymore, when she's used to having a lot more space. So trying to keep her occupied and busy and happy. I just didn't want to be rushed last minute with disassembling her big cage, because I want to be able to move the cage before we actually move ourselves, and then I can assemble it at the new house and just move her straight into her big cage at the new house. So that's the plan anyway. But actually getting it to happen is another thing. I can't get this looking quite how I want it. I like these darker areas, but this lighter area is bothering me. Can't quite figure out why. I'm going to sharpen this one. So yeah, there's a few bits and pieces happening. I hope all you guys are doing well. And I just wanted to say thank you for supporting my videos, whether it's just by a thumbs up, a comment, or subscribing. You know, I do appreciate all of those things, and it helps keep me motivated to keep my channel going. Even if I sometimes forget that I actually have to make a video, because life is very distracting at times, so. But you know, that's just how things are. I'm going to add some, I don't know if this is the right move, but I'm going to add some purple into these darker areas. Really kind of boost that up a bit. It actually works out quite nicely. I don't know, I think some of my fur shapes are a little bit wrong. I've lost sort of the movement in these lighter areas or something. And that's why, like I said earlier on, I'm going to say it again, working from references is fantastic, but it's also important to try and take what you've learned from using those references and apply it without a reference. And I find that's how you really learn, is by seeing if you can replicate that sort of thing without a reference. And then you can look back and see where you made mistakes and what you can do to improve that. So now we've got some nicer dark areas there. And pop a bit more blue in. Maybe some more of this one. I feel like that's the complete wrong color. I'm not sure. I've got all these reddy tones and then this yellow tone. It doesn't quite go. Like I said, I didn't pick my colors properly. I was just, here's some browns right in front of me. Let's use those. And so I have. But it hasn't come up too shabby. So that's probably all from me for this video. I thank you if you've stuck around during the whole thing, and I do hope that you've sort of enjoyed hanging out with me while I have my little ramble about life and explain to you and apologize. I am sorry for why I haven't had a proper video up this week. Life has been really chaotic and it's just been really overwhelming. So the fact that I'm actually sleeping properly again is a massive achievement for me. So one day at a time in that regard, and like I said, hopefully I'll be able to make the time for a proper drawing video next week. But even so, I think I've managed to get something worthwhile into this one with this little fur rendering exercise. Like, because even if I haven't had time to draw an actual piece, it's still nice to practice those techniques and things that you use every day in your artwork. So, yes. Sorry, I'm just sort of focusing on finishing these little bits and I don't want to cut you guys off before I finish. They're looking pretty good. Here we are. Made those darks. Making the darks darker makes the brights seem brighter, which is great. I had to make them just that little bit darker, but I'm glad I put that purple tone in. It really made a big difference too. I think we just need some shorter little... Alright, well that's it from me. So once again, thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I will see you again next week for another one. stay creative.